Hello and welcome to Afterlife Topics and Metaphysics. Hope you're doing great in whatever part of the world you happen to be locked down in. I'm still in Philippines, going on day number, I don't know, I think like 40 almost. And today's video, we're going to go over a fairly complex topic that I have touched on in my books, maybe on this channel before, but it's one of the more complex ones. So we're going to just try to hash it out as best as I can. And let's go ahead and dive into it. So this is a post on the group by moderator John Adam Jackson, and specifically he was asking me in relation to the kind of the mechanics of astral projection as we currently understand it, to the extent I think of our limited knowledge in this area. So he asks, when you find yourself over on that side, is it that you are effectively taking possession momentarily of the version of you on that side? And what happens then to the mind of that Cyrus on that side during the process and afterwards? Does he retain memories of this? He follows up by asking, also, would this mean that there is a sort of intermediate astral body that exists in between the body on this side and the one that lives over there? A little bit of a mind twister here. Even with how much I've written about these topics, I did have to reread this a couple times to kind of get what the question completely is. And it is a big topic. It is one of the main puzzles, questions surrounding how this works. And I can at least just provide my perspectives based upon my experiences. I think it's pretty consistent with other people's experiences. There's a lot of people out there who do this. Not all of them are on YouTube. You'd be surprised how many people even know about these things in private. They don't talk about it. They don't read about it, but they do this kind of stuff privately. So this is like the best educated guess I can come up with given those circumstances. So let's jump into that. But before we go further, you are watching Afterlife Topics and Metaphysics, where we may talk about complex things related to, astral projection, the great beyond, where we go when we cross over. And if you like this kind of stuff, please go down, hit that subscribe button, hit the notification bell, find me on Facebook, give me a follow, join the Facebook group. All that's great ways to stay in touch and keep this whole effort going, or become a patron over at the Patreon page, which is in the description down below. To continue. Okay, so how do we tackle this? What's the best strategy for answering this question? So let's just begin at the first sentence. When you find yourself over on that side, is it that you are effectively taking possession momentarily of the version of you on that side? What does that mean? So by a version of me, this is the prevailing hypothesis that when you astral project, what appears to be happening is that there is a different version of you that already exists and is already having a lifestyle on that side. This is why astral projection is less common where you leave your body and find yourself from scratch on that side. That can happen, but more often you are in a situation that was already happening before you projected. Like I astral projected and I was at a masquerade ball and everybody were wearing masks and people were dancing. The question becomes, why were you at that ball? Did you just materialize there? How come people at the party know who you are? How come they're all calling you by your first name? Basically indicates that this was a situation that you were already involved in. You were already attending that masquerade ball on that higher dimensional level of existence. Astral projection was merely the moment when you gained full conscious access to that experience that was already happening. This therefore means that there is two different versions of you happening simultaneously. Now, this is not too unusual when you dive into afterlife lore and we learn about people's higher selves existing simultaneously on different levels. That there may be an astral level Cyrus, there may be a higher astral Cyrus, there may be a floating orb of light Cyrus, or a flying blue hexagon Cyrus, whatever shapes and forms they take on higher levels. I don't know. There may be many different levels, different versions of me happening at the same time. And exploring consciousness states can very often be just the process of accessing these different levels of you that are already happening, that are already in existence. So, what happens to the memory of that higher version of you when you gain access to him or her? So when you astral project, you have full lucid awareness, which means you don't have necessarily all the memories of how you came to the masquerade ball or how you came to the astral keg party, wherever it is you happen to show up that day. But you do have full access to your memories from Earth, which means you're there, but you remember as being, being John Adam, being Cyrus, being whomever it might be, going to bed that night, or leaving the body, having an astral experience, and being you as you. So does that mean that the memories swap one for the other? And my observation about this is the answer is yes. I came to find this via having astral experiences and getting teased by people on that side who had seen me do it before, where they say, are you astral tripping right now? Are you having a projection experience, which means that now you have no memory of who I am? So I've literally been told that before. So they're saying, oh, so you're having one of those astral trips right now, so you don't remember that I'm your best friend? Some guy told me that once. I've had similar things happen. What appears to happen is by their vantage point, let's say you're hanging out with your friend, and suddenly their eyes glaze over and they're like, oh my God, I'm projecting right now. And then it's kind of like, John Adam uses uses the verb to be possessed, which is one way of putting it. So it's like your lower self, your earthbound self, the consciousness of him has now taken possession of the consciousness of that higher self. I would surmise that as your higher self form, you will retain memory of that experience, and I also believe you have full memory of your life on this side. So you will still have memory when that trip is finished that this happened to you, but only momentarily during that swap of consciousness. I know it's not actually a swap because that sounds like an exchange, but more like the interference of consciousness, or having your consciousness here like invade the mind of your higher self. During that moment, momentarily, your higher self sort of fades into the background because your lower self, to use that terminology, has now taken the steering wheel and is able to have a cognizant experience that they can bring back to this side. Probably on an even higher level, I think it's a mutual thing. So I think it's like your higher self is working with your lower self in kind of a cooperative fashion to enable the experience to happen. So it's like your higher self temporarily goes to sleep. The lower self gains full access to that higher self's consciousness and memory, which is how you can have an experience where you just kind of like the old show Quantum Leap. You just like leap into an activity or an event or something that's already happening, and then you leap out of it, and then presumably that will continue happening after you wake up out of that. So now you're done astral projecting, you're back in your bed, wherever it is you're doing it, and the masquerade ball is still going on. So it's still happening in the background, in whatever juxtaposition of time and space we want to use. So to continue the question, what happens to the mind of that Cyrus on that side during the process? So during the process, I think it must be a kind of unconsciousness or like a sleep. And afterwards, does he retain memories of this? I'd say most likely the answer is yes. I'd also say sleep because I've had experiences. Take a sip of my peach black tea. I've had experiences where being in the astral projection state, I've also obtained some memory, like why I'm at the masquerade ball, and I'll wake up. By the way, I've never been to a masquerade ball. I just like to use these long, drawn-out examples to illustrate things. It's kind of how I like to write or illustrate or add color and flavor to things. But I'd love to go to a masquerade ball. I've been to similar things. But anyway, So I've had memories come back to me during the process, and then I still have those memories when I return to this body. So the very act of astral projecting, sometimes those memories of your life on that side will kind of seep into your mortal corporeal brain on this side. And by this account, I would say I possess a fraction of my memories of my parallel life on that side. I'd say in the vicinity of 1 or 2%. So let's say I have a fully diverse and big life on that side. I have a little tiny fraction of my memory of my life there. Presumably, once I cross over, I will have full memory because I will once again fully be embodying that higher astral Cyrus that lives on that side. So crossing over here, basically you re-merge with that other version. Now, there is a caveat to this because I know some people are thinking this, and it's a confusing one for sure. But it's if you just merge back with that astral version when you cross over, why is it that people float from this body and go through a tunnel in light and are met by loved ones? There's a celebration. I think that when we have a parallel life on that side, this has also been confirmed to me from inquiring about this. You're not fully on that side. So even let's say I have a life on that side, a beach house in Astral, Mexico, which by the way I do have. Let's say I have a whole lifestyle on that side. I'm only ever partially in their world. I'm always kind of like phantasmal Cyrus, and I think some people refer to us as like dreamers or people who are in and out of their world, not fully interconnected, because part of my consciousness and part of my mind is always here. And so as a result of that, I'm a little bit spectral, like I'm coming and going in and out. And my mom said like it's just on occasion, like she'll see me, I'll just pop in. And that seems to be related to my intentions or what I'm doing here on this side, or if I want to like rendezvous and meet with them, my deceased parents, that is. And so it's kind of like when you have a life, when you have part of your mind is incarnated here, you're not really fully living your life on that side. Too much of your consciousness seems to be spilled over into this side. When you cross over on this side, when something gets you here and your heart stops beating, it seems like your astral body leaves this body, that it's tethered to this body, it disconnects, and you'll be on your way to then fully incorporating a life on that side, as opposed to what you had been doing, which is kind of like sampling it the whole time, if that makes sense. Now, this is all hazy stuff. I can't say any of this stuff for sure, but it's my working hypothesis. Like, why do they still have celebrations when you cross over? If you've already had a life there, it's because you've had a life there, but it's like people only see you on weekends, and then sometimes you begin mumbling dream garbage and dream nonsense. So it's like you have a parallel life there, but you're not fully there. Next part of the question. Also, would this mean that there's a sort of intermediate astral body that exists in between the body on this side and the one that lives over there? Maybe. Astral bodies can bilocate into many different places, right? So if you're leaving your body here, what'll happen to me is I'll only be exiting this body for a split second, and then I'll be aware of my body on that side being on that side. Which kind of makes me think that the astral body is simultaneously connected to this body and then simultaneously independent and on that side, like they're interlinked together. So if I start to disconnect from my astral body here, only for like a split second am I floating in my bedroom here, I'm almost immediately connected then to whatever it is that my astral body is doing on that side. So if you want to call that like separate bodies, we could maybe call it that. But it seems to be just a bilocation phenomenon. So your same astral body is just in a couple of different places at once, which we know it can do. We know anybody can be in many different places at once. It's part of the retinue, the assortment, the smorgasbord of different abilities that we seem to acquire on that side. So that's the kind of complex answer to this question, and thanks for bringing it up. But if you're If you also have had experiences like this, please share what you think in the comments down below about how this works, based on your opinion, based on your experiences. All right, also, if you want to go even further into the rabbit hole, check out books like Understanding Life After DEATH, The Afterlife and Beyond over at afterlifetopics.com. You can also work with me personally, get involved in the Patreon, the private classes, the behind-the-scenes stuff, the private coaching with me, all of that. You can reach me in the description down below. Stay safe out there. It's a crazy time. Final point, something very interesting is that the Pentagon this week officially released a bunch of its UFO footage, with the official explanation being we don't know what this stuff is. Some people in the exopolitics community believe that even the events happening right now are kind of a lead-in to what could be an eventual major disclosure moment, and so that's very interesting. I'm actually looking forward to Stephen Greer's new film coming out. It might already be out, Close Encounters of the Fifth Kind, so I'm definitely going to be checking that out. So just something to keep in the back of your mind, a little extra bit of news I wanted to toss in there. Anyway, thanks for watching, you all, and thanks for supporting this channel and this work. I'll catch you guys on the next video.